Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing my 10 most used eyeshadow palettes. I saw Makeup Molly did this video, and as soon as it popped up in my subscription feed, I thought, oh yes, that's such a great video. I really wanted to do it because I feel like I talk about like my favorites, but they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily the same thing as what actually gets the most use. And I feel like that offers a bit more information as far as what's the best buy, what is going to give you the most value for money, because you might love a palette and the look of a palette, but actually if you're not going to use it that much, what's the point, you know? So these are my like 10 most used, my go-tos, like on the most frequent basis, on the daily, if you will, eyeshadow palettes. First up, this is Pat McGrath's Subversive. I feel like this one, since it arrived, it's fairly new. I've maybe had it like 6 months, and that's a complete guess. It could be a year or no months, and I have no idea what's happening anymore. Time just doesn't exist where I live, but I've had it, it's been fairly recent purchase, I would say, definitely in the last 6 months, and it's got a lot of use out of it in that time, especially for a mothership, which typically they're like special occasion palettes for a lot of people. But I just find this one is super wearable, particularly if you kind of stay in this family. Like I will do this matte and then these two shimmers for like any day of the week, school run, running errands, whatever, and that's a gorgeous look. I've also used a lot of these two shades down here. This one in particular has like quite the dent in it. I also love this shade. I love how it's like blue on camera, but when I'm looking at it here, it's definitely purple, and I love those like shifting shades. I just think it has a lot of options when it comes to like an everyday look, but an elevated everyday look, because it is Pat McGrath, and of course the shimmers are chef's kiss. One from Charlotte Tilbury that's a completely different vibe, and this is Celestial Pearl. It's just so soft and subtle pretty. That's how I describe this. It's like not Pat McGrath shimmers. It's even like a softer shimmer formula for Charlotte Tilbury's brand, I would say, but it's just so pretty. This is an all shimmer palette, which is typically not my jam, but it does have some light and shade in there, which I think works really, really well. And just the overall like blend and effect of these shimmers as a quad on the eye, it's just so pretty, and it's soft, but it's eye catching and it's different as well. And pretty is definitely the word for this palette. It is not like over the top glittery, it's more smooth, but it is very like twinkly, you know, like Tinkerbell. It just reminds me of Stardust, and I just feel like because there's no real colour in there, it's something you can wear anywhere, any occasion, but it just kind of helps you feel a bit more special and pretty, and it accentuates features in the most beautiful, neutral way, and I love it. And I just always want to pull it out. And I think the packaging doesn't hurt because it's just very, very pretty to look at. And that just makes me want to use it. One that I think might be slightly cheating, but I'm going to go with it anyway because I'm naughty like that. But it's the Natasha Denona Glam Face and Eye palette. Well, actually, it's called the Glam Face palette. Okay, but it has eyeshadows in it, all right? So it counts in my book. This is the light palette. And I know I've raved about this palette before, and you guys have too. Whenever I wear this 5 pan down here on my eyes, like I get so many compliments, and you guys are desperate in knowing what I've used on my eyes. And this for me, I just wish I could just put this into a 5 pan. I mean, I suppose I could depan it, but you know what I'm saying. I wish this would get released as a 5 pan because it's the greatest 5 pan of all time. Certainly my favorite Natasha Denona 5 pan, if it was a 5 pan, you see what I'm saying. I really don't use these two products much, if ever, apart from maybe sometimes the highlight for my inner corners, just so I can say that I did. But the eyeshadows in here are just, the mattes are the perfect depth, the perfect like transition shade, smoke shade, and the shimmers are just really what makes this special to me. They just stand out. They're so reflective. Obviously, it's a very neutral palette, very, very neutral and boring to look at as far as a colour story. It's, you know, it's a neutral quint. What more can you say? But this on the eye is just so much more beautiful, so much more impactful and reflective and high shine than any other formula or palette like this in this colour story I've ever used. And if I want to go like every day, it's a neutral eye, but I want it to be like impactful, I want it to look blingy, over the top, this is what I reach for every single time. I'd go as far as to say that this is like my favorite neutral look, eyeshadow look, and it's just so comprehensive and amazing, and I love it. And there you go, that's what I'm saying. What are you saying? Next, my favorite quad from Pat McGrath. This is Voyeuristic Vixen, the ultimate Pat McGrath like neutral quad. This shade, I said it before in my like Pat McGrath ranking video, this is like a single shadow with maybe some bronzer or just this matte lightly used in the crease. This look down here is just gorgeous, and I can always whack a little bit of this one in the inner corner to brighten things up. This shade here is so much more pretty than I think it looks. And this overall 4-pan all used together on the eye is just divine. Sometimes I don't always want to pick up a huge big palette in a mothership, but I still want some Pat McGrath on my eyes, and then that's what I reach for because it's just it's easy. I don't have to think about what colours am I going to use today. You know, if I open up a mothership, then I'm instantly thinking, oh, where do I go? Do I go here? Do I go there? What combination am I going to use? How much or how little am I going to do? With this, it's like the thought process is taken away. It's that, obviously you're going to use the matte in the crease, and then you put these two shimmers on the eyes, and then this is obviously your inner corner. There's just no thought needed. But I have got a huge amount of use out of this one. I mean, it's looking pretty battered, pretty used, and yeah, I have no regrets. Next up, let's talk about one of, if not my favourite Natasha Denona palettes that actually is a definite eyeshadow palette, no qualms about it. It's retro. Even just holding it up, it's been a while since I used this one just because I've got a lot of newer palettes like here that I will speak about, but I just see these colours and they speak to my soul, my very soul. The formulas in here are just glorious. All of the mattes, and there's just so many options in here, but all of the options are kind of me, my style, my flavour, my vibes, the kind of colour stories that I live for. But I just feel like it's just fun for me, and I just know I can get a really pretty, beautiful look at it here that's not, you know, neutral. It's not browns, it's got some pink and some mauve in there, and it's a little bit different to like just a completely neutral palette, but it's still very much my safe space, my comfort zone, what suits me, what works for me and what I enjoy. And it's so comprehensive. It's got so many options and things to play with, and I just really I have a real soft spot for this palette. Like, I just want to use her all the time. Next up, along the same lines as retro, as in with the color story and the tones in there, but this is like amped up evening time version of those same sort of colors and tones, and it's Divine Rose 2. As you can see, much brighter colors, more vibrant, more fun. This is like my favorite palette when I want to do me and I want to feel like myself, but I want it to be a bit more just exciting and fun. And those days when I really want an impactful eye and I want to do a bit of color but still within like the colors that suit me and flatter me, and especially in spring and summer. This is one that's got a bit neglected now because I've got some newer palettes that I'm also really, really loving, but this one gets pulled out a lot more in spring and summer because it is that sort of spring, summery, pretty, floral vibe to it. It's just such a beauty. I have used this to death. Obviously, when it first came out, it was the love of my life, and it still is one of the loves of my life. But you know me, I'm fickle, and when new palettes come along, they you know, reach top spot for a little while. But this one is still one that I reach for all of the time, particularly when I'm just feeling a bit cheeky, a bit fun, want to do something whimsical, which is, you know, often. But she's certainly still getting used. She's certainly still being enjoyed, and how could you not with this lovely packaging? I just love to look at her. She is glorious. Now going for something a little different, like when you lay out these palettes, there's like, I definitely have a type, okay? I definitely am my own cliche. I have my type on paper. I have my theme that kind of runs throughout most of these palettes, but this one, I feel like definitely doesn't fit the theme. It's the standout. If you look at all these palettes together, one is not like the others, and this one is Nars Climax. This was a huge surprise hit for me. I did not think I was going to love it as much as I do. I think one, because I didn't really have any experience of Nars eyeshadow formulas. I didn't really know how great the formula was going to be. And two, this colour story, while it looks very beautiful, it clearly is very different to the normal colour stories that I am drawn to. But it's so beautiful. The shimmers in here are stunning, and it's kind of like the best of both worlds. There are some real neutral shadows in here, especially when it comes to like this top row and some of the shimmers. But there's also this gorgeous like green running through it as well, and just some little things to play with. And I think like this sort of really deep matte down here, it really works so beautifully with both the greens and the more neutral pinks and shades at the top as well. I think it's so well thought out. The packaging is stunning, and it's just something a bit different. And in winter and autumn particularly, this is like one of my go-to palettes when I'm just feeling like I want things to be a little more evening or just a bit darker and more grungy, and just something that's not pink or just not a neutral or browns. This is like something that I just really find myself getting a lot of enjoyment out of and having a lot of fun with. It's probably the one that surprised me the most out of all of these 10, how much I use it and how much I enjoy it. Next up, let's talk about, I think, my newest palette that's featured in this video, I think, and it's the new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams palette. Is it Pillow Talk Dreams? Yes, Pillow Talk Dreams. She was right the first time. I never trust myself. This little quad, yes, I know some people were like, I mean, hello, the colour story has been done before. That's no secret. But I don't know of a quad with this colour story that has been done quite as well as this before. For me, my preference is my skin tone and what I look for. This is like such a perfect little quad. You know, the two mattes are literally the exact perfect depth, the exact perfect combination. One is not too light and one is not too dark. You use them both beautifully. They're both very buildable, so they can be quite customizable for how your skin tone is or the kind of look you're going for, how daytime, how evening, how smoky you want things. You can do everything you need with these two. I do wish there was a little more separation between the shimmers. I do wish that, and I do kind of wish that this lighter shimmer was more intense. But there's no getting away from the fact that if I want like an everyday neutral pretty look with some shimmer, I'm literally reaching for this like every single time that's the look I want to do. There's a battle between this and the Natasha Denona face palette, but that's typically if I want something a little more toned down and daytime and more errand running, I'll go for this one. If I want something a bit more and just more impact, more over the top, more shimmer, I'll go for the Natasha Denona. This one is much more travel friendly. It's much smaller, much easier to, you know, pop in your travel bag if you're going away for the weekend, but it just does everything I want it to do for a little neutral quad. She's a little fire starter, firecracker of a quad. Absolutely love it. It's just simple but effective. And you can probably see I'm making some decent dents in here. Like, I'm getting use out of this bad boy, let me tell you. And now to my probably most used of all of these palettes so far. This is the Natasha Denona Biba palette. When I just look at this, this is a whole mess. I mean, this has had quite a bit of a battering, and I haven't even had it that long. Like, some people have had Biba for like years. I haven't had it that long, but I am just, whenever I want like a natural look, especially if I don't want shimmer, I want a matte, all matte look, whether that be a cool, neutral, warm look, any day of the year, this is what I'm pulling out. Like, even I will reach for this one, you know, if I'm using a single shadow or if I'm using a shimmer like a topper or trying that and I just want something in the crease, I pull this out because just look at her. She just has everything you could possibly need. There is no more comprehensive neutral palette than this one. The formulas, of course, are incredible, but the tones and the options and the variety is just unmatched. There is no competition here. She wins. Biba wins. There's no competition. There is but one winner. And last but not least, again, a fairly new palette to me, but one that I have just fallen in love with so much that I can't stop using it. It's like somehow exciting, yet soft, yet pretty, yet daytime, yet evening, yet every occasion, yet every season to me. And it is Midnight Sun from Pat McGrath. This has become my favourite mothership. I just feel like it does everything in one place that I need from all of the others. I love this topper, is like my favourite. Just whack it on top of any colour and it just heightens the like impact and how stunning everything looks. I feel like you've got lovely options for daytime and evening. You can easily do just this matte in the crease and then this shade on the lid, and you've got the most soft, subtle, work appropriate look. Or you can, you know, go down here and the options are just limitless, you know. The world's your oyster. I really love this one. I can't stop using it. It's just so fun. And every look I do is so beautiful. I think this one is just giving me the most joy. And that's why I'm just drawn to use it so much. And especially because it is quite new. And, you know, shiny new things. Who doesn't love them? So there you have it. Those are my 10 most used eyeshadow palettes. Please let me know what your #1 palette that you use the most, your go-to for every day is, down in the comment section. Were there any surprises? Let me know. Were you surprised, or were these exactly the 10 that you expected? I hope you enjoyed this video and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.